Friends, as part of the training on cold chain offered by CAI, Cold Chain Logistic Resource Center at NIFTEM, Kundli, I am going to discuss the topic health impacts and human safety in cold environments. As you know, the human beings are warm-blooded animals. That means they maintain the core body temperature at around 37 degrees centigrade. Because in cold storage systems and cold logistic lines, the temperature of the surrounding is less than the core body temperature of the human beings. The thermoregulatory system of the human beings fails to maintain that optimum temperature of 37 degrees centigrade. Due to this, the performance of the human beings will be affected. There will be a lot of health hazard due to cool temperature around the human beings. As you know, the human beings are used in the cold storage systems for cleaning, grading and sorting, picking perishable goods in refrigerated or frozen foods, loading and unloading trucks for storing of products in warehouses, checking quantities, prepare boxes and place them in slots, monitoring inventory and maintenance of assembly lines and the like. And these are very highly skilled jobs like hand-eye coordination, listening skills, physical strength, and customer service skills are the important skill sets the human beings working in the cold environment should have. And when the core body temperature is not maintained at 37 degrees centigrade, or when there is a strain on the thermoregulatory system of the body, the performance of the human beings will be affected. That means hand-eye coordination will be affected. That will affect the grading, sorting, cleaning, and the like. The physical strength which is required for picking, loading, and unloading of the trucks will be affected. And due to that, the person will reach to fatigue very quickly. So we shall see initially how the cold environment is going to affect the human beings working in the storage systems. A cold environment is a challenge to human beings because of its temperature, the wind speed inside the cold storage systems, and wind air humidity. When you are in a particular air temperature and the wind speed is higher, the effect of that is feel much cooler than the actual temperature of the air. This combined effect of air temperature and wind speed is called wind chill. Air humidity, that is water droplet present in the air, will take away the heat from the body of the human beings faster than the dry air. It's said it's around 25 times faster than the dry air. That means heat is released from the body at a faster rate. That means the human beings exposed to cool environment with some sort of wind speed and with the air having higher humidity will be losing the heat. That means you will be losing the core body temperature, as well as he will be feeling much cooler than the air in the room, and that will have the significant effect on his performance. People in the frozen or cold industries tend to move from cooler to warmer environment more frequently. That is, warm-up schedule will be there. So he will work in the cold environment, but to warm up, he will come to normal environment outside the cold rooms. So this will increase the strain on thermoregulatory system of the body. The thermoregulatory system maintains the core body temperature from 37 degrees centigrade, and this system will have a lot of strain in working at the optimum level. There will be significant loss of person's ability capacity to control the body temperature. It will reduce the dexterity and sensitivity. Dexterity refers to the ability of a person to use the fingers, hands and arms to perform a task. The task like grading and sorting, cleaning requires the free movement of the fingers and the arms, the hands for lifting and loading and unloading. So all those things will be affected. The bones and joints become very stiff. This causes impaired muscular performance. The person will not be able to develop sufficient physical strength to do the task. Problems increases because of age as well as exposure duration. Muscular contraction becomes slow. Muscular contraction is the tightening, shortening, or lengthening of the muscle. When you do some activity, the muscle will shorten or muscle will tighten. You have to tighten the muscle or you have to lengthen the muscle. And it can happen when you are holding or picking up something, or when you are loading or unloading the products to the trucks or the warehouses. In poor condition, oxygen from the hemoglobin is released at a slower rate. This means there is less oxygen available for the muscles. Less oxygen available for the muscle means less generation of the energy. Okay. It makes the muscle contraction to be difficult. This results in stiffness of the muscles. This will also reduce the muscular strength. Cold environment impairs oxygen supply to skeletal muscles. The skeletal muscles will receive less oxygen, and this is due to reduced cardiac output and increase the viscosity of the synovial fluid. So reduced cardiac output and increase in blood viscosity will reduce supply of blood to the skeletal muscles. Okay. That means the listening skills or hand-eye coordination will all be affected in addition to muscular strength. Temperature of the joints also decreases faster compared to muscles. Viscosity of the synovial fluid in joints also increases. Viscosity increases. That means the synovial fluid becomes thicker and its flow becomes slower. So this causes stiffening of the joints as well. When your brain will grow cooler, it stops functioning properly, which can make you feel dizzy, disoriented, and reduces mental alertness. Mental functioning and awareness also get affected. Lack of concentration results. It affects people engaged with activities like machine operating, grading, handling, etc. So other effects of this cool environment on human beings is the allergy. This allergy is called cold urticaria. And those who have the cold urticaria experiences itching, redness, and swelling when their skin is warmed after being exposed to cold temperatures. There will be lung inflammation. In the lung, inflammation is usually caused by pathogens or by exposure to allergens, irritants, toxins, and pollutants. There will be musculoskeletal disorders, that means stiffening of the muscles. Exposure to cold environment for whole day can increase the blood pressure. It can lead to cardiovascular problems as well. Exposure of the unprotected head to a cold environment can trigger cold stimulus headache. All their health impacts increases with the increase in work duration and decrease in temperature. There will be several chilling injuries. Thermograms, the human hand is shown in this figure. Here you can see the thermograms of the human hand before and after 3 minutes of exposure to cold environment of minus 10 degrees centigrade. In the first figure, if you can see the colors which are same, okay, clearly show the vasoconstriction process that has started. Okay. The vasoconstriction is the decrement of the cross-section of the blood vessels in the surface zones of the skins and extremities. The vasoconstriction appears due to signals from the hypothalamus to the smooth muscles in the surface zones of skin and the extremities. The aim of the vasoconstriction is to impede the transfer of hot blood out of the core body, thus preserving as long as possible the accurate functioning of the heart, brain and the lungs. This process can increase the body temperature of 1 to 2 degrees centigrade. So what happens is, in this figure, if you see, another kind of chilling injury is trench foot or immersion foot. Generally in the core storage systems, what happens is the relative humidity of the air is high or sometimes water spills out. Unsanitary condition is maintained. In such cases, the foot tissues and skin will break down and that results in trench foot or immersion feet. This is due to the exposure of the foot to a temperature of 16 degree or below under highly unsanitary or damp conditions. The feet will be remaining wet for a long period of time, and that results in breakdown of the tissues and the skin of the foot, and it starts getting infected. And if 10 to 14 degrees, 14 hours of exposure is sufficient to get such kind of infections, and the infection is called trench foot or immersion foot. So the core storage systems should not have dampness, should not have unsanitary conditions to cause this kind of chilling injury. Another type of chilling injury is hypothermia. That means temperatures of core body temperature of the human beings falls down because of exposure, continuous exposure for a long period of time to a cool temperature. So normal body temperature, core body temperature on 37 degrees centigrade. If you see this table, if you see this figure, you can see body temperature is around 37 degrees centigrade. That means thermoregulatory system will operate at very optimum state. As the temperature falls below 37 degrees centigrade and reaches around 35 degrees centigrade, the person feels shivering. Okay, and will reach the peak of the shivering at around 35 degrees centigrade. At around 34 degrees centigrade, still when the core body temperature falls to around 34 degrees centigrade, muscle rigidity and persons lose skill for manual operations. As the temperature falls to around 32 degrees centigrade, consciousness is disturbed. When the temperature falls to core body temperature falls from 30 degrees centigrade, consciousness is lost. If the core body temperature drops below 30 degrees centigrade and remain in cold exposure for a long time, there is a high chance of death. Arrhythmia will start at around 29 degrees centigrade when the core body temperature falls to around 29 degrees centigrade. And the temperature falls down to 24 degrees centigrade, the person develops pulmonary edema. That means there will be lungs inflammation will start at around 24 degrees centigrade. Breathing problems will be there. Low oxygen supply to the muscles will be there. Then heart stops beating when the core body temperature falls to below 20 degrees centigrade or 20 degrees centigrade. So therefore, one has to monitor the core body temperature of the human beings working in the cool environment, and there has to be continuous the other person body system should be followed, where other person has to monitor the other person so that his core body temperature will not fall drastically low and he will not have these symptoms. Okay. Having been discussed the effect of cold environment on the human body, we shall see how to overcome the challenges posed by the cold environment so that human beings can work comfortably even in the cold environment as well for a long time without facing much fatigue or any health hazard. So the various preventive measures that are being used to overcome the challenges of the cold environment are the protective clothing, the physical activity, and the work warming schedule. All these things have to be followed so that the health hazard on the human beings can be reduced to the minimum. Clothing plays an important role of a passive insulation layer between the body and the environment. Both textile layers and the layers of air between them in clothing system perform passive insulation. The thickness of passive insulation is done through adding or removing of textile layers. The textile layers should be thick enough to guarantee the body thermal comfort and light enough to ensure free movement. The textiles in the form of layers in clothing garments, headwear, handwear or footwear are of crucial importance for the survival and healthy work of people in the cold environment. The comfort of the persons working in the cold storage systems is of utmost importance. The textile layers transfer the moisture from the body to the environment, keep the heat next to the skin, and prevent the moisture transfer from the surrounding to the body. At least 3 layers of loose-fitting clothing must be worn. The inner layer or base layer is closer to the body of the human being. It is usually made of polyester, polypropylene, or other synthetic fibers that draw moisture away from the skin and keep it dry. The middle layer is the most insulating one. It is made of feather, wool, non-woven webs of synthetic fibers, etc. The middle layer holds the body's heat. The outer layer aims to protect the body from wind and precipitation or water. It's made of breathable waterproof fabrics that allow some ventilation like polyamide. This layer may frequently need to be resistant to oil, fire, chemicals, or abrasion. The fitting of each layer of clothing is extremely important. The tight clothes may press the body tissues and decrease the blood flow, thus decreasing the risk of cold injuries. The hands, feet, and heads also must be insulated to prevent direct exposure to cold air. Proper selection of footwear and handwear has to be done to prevent hands and foot from cold. Mittens are better solutions than gloves, as 4 of the fingers share one and the same thermal environment. Gloves are needed if finer movements of the fingers are needed. The head has to be protected by a cap, as the heat may be seriously lost through the head to the environment when the other parts of the body are well insulated. The cheeks and the nose may be protected from the cold using a mask. In case of obligatory use of helmet, a wool knit cap has to be worn beneath the helmet. Insulated boots are good mostly for protection in the cold. Insulated boots with the removable felt liners have to be used. The liners and the socks are an important part of the footwear. They have to be kept dry so as to perform best in a cold environment as an insulating layer. Inner socks made of polypropylene that helps to keep the feet dry and warm are best to be combined with other thicker socks. The boot liners have to be removed daily for complete drying. The socks have also to be changed if they get wet or damp. The incorporation of face chain material will add active insulation system to the existing clothing system. So the face chain materials are the materials which change their phase from liquid to solid under a cool temperature and solid to liquid in under warm temperature. The PCMs are mostly paraffins. The PCMs can experience the process of change from one state to another, that is from liquid to solid and back. They are able to absorb, store, and discharge heat following the fluctuations of the surrounding temperature. The paraffin is incorporated into microcapsules. The microcapsules are used to prevent dissolution of the paraffins during liquid phase. Capsules of paraffin can be added to the structure of the synthetic fiber in the wet spinning process or can be incorporated in the textiles as part of the surface coating. Classical cold wear garments can also be used, but they can hardly maintain the thermophysiological comfort of the human beings while working in the cold storages. They cannot work for a long time. They cannot insulate the human body for a long time. Therefore, application of PCMs can help the process of avoiding thermal stress and hypothermia. Heated clothings are available, but they can be an alternative to classical protective clothing. The heated clothings are the wired heating panels. These heating panels are powered by 6 to 12 volt battery. These heating panels are added to the cloth where the comfort against the cold is required. They provide warmth to the body parts. The heating panels used in the cloth are nothing but the conductive filaments coated with Teflon. So conductive filaments coated with Teflon and are powered by 6 to 12 volt batteries form the heating panels, and they must be added to the cloth. They can easily get folded or they can change their shape according to the requirement, and they can be added to the cloth. The jackets, the panels are added at the spots of back, chest and collars. When incorporated in gloves, heating panels have help in sustaining the finger movements as well. The panels also provide insulation and assure the waterproofness of the clothing. The heating panels can reach a temperature up to 57 to 63 degrees centigrade. The wireless heating panels can also be used, adjusted, and the temperature of these panels are adjusted by smartphone applications as well. This temperature of the heating panels, what we control in the clothing, we call them as smart clothing. This smart clothing can be provided to the jackets, gloves, basic liners, shirts, pants, heated scarf are all available as a smart clothing options. Two types of sensors are also used in the smart clothing. One sensor measures the temperature of the body, other one measures the temperature surrounding air. The heating panels can be separately controlled using these sensors. The wearer can control the temperature of the panels, which can be heated up to 65 degrees centigrade. Under very cool temperature, the panels can supply heat to the human body, and depending upon the temperature of the body and the temperature of the air, the heating panels are automatically heated. They become the smart clothing. The cold protection garments can be rolled or twisted without the risk of damage. For working the safe cold storage systems, the equipment has to be specifically designed. For work below the freezing point, the metal handles and bars of the equipment have to be covered with thermal insulating materials. Machines and tools should be designed so that they can be operated without having to remove the mittens or gloves. There has to be proper surveillance and monitoring in the cold storage systems. Every workplace where the temperature may fall below 16 degrees centigrade should be equipped with a suitable thermometer to monitor any further temperature changes. Cold workplaces with the temperature below the freezing point, the temperature should be monitored at every 4-hour intervals. If there is a wind speed of more than 5 miles per hour, the temperature has to be monitored at the interval of every 4 hours. Physical activities. Before starting any work shift, the person should be trained and allowed to warm up. Do some warm-up exercises. The workers in the cold rooms should be provide rotation in their duties. Rotation of workers for various tasks have to be arranged. so that he will not be continuously exposed to cold systems for a long period of time. While working in cold, a buddy system has to be implemented. That means buddy system means the workers will look each other or take care of each other and help each other when the person undergoes some hazards due to the workplace temperature, which is very low. If any symptoms are there for another person, the other person has to be able to alert the management that he should be immediately taken care of. Here if you see the work warm-up sessions, work warm-up schedule has to be followed, particularly in the cold rooms. So if the temperature is around minus 26 to minus 28 degrees centigrade, so if the person is working for 4-hour shift, one break is enough. One break of 10 minutes is sufficient. If the wind speed is about 5 miles per hour, 2 breaks of 10 minutes has to be given. And if it is continues to be 15 miles per hour, then 3 shifts, 3 breaks, 3 warm-up breaks of 10 minutes in 4-hour shift is essential. Similarly, when the temperature of 26 to 28 degrees centigrade, but wind speed is very high of 20 miles per hour, then 4 breaks of 10 minutes is required in the work shift of 4 hours. So here you can see in this table, for increasing as the temperature of the cold storage systems decreases, more and more breaks of 10 minutes is required in a 4-hour shift. And if the temperature is minus 40 to 42 degrees centigrade and wind speed of 5 miles per hour, that means only emergency, non-emergency work should be stopped. Emergency work only should be conducted in such situations, and you can see the number of shift number of warm-up schedule, warm-up breaks is about 5 breaks of 10 minutes duration in 4-hour shift when wind speed is very high. And even the working period also decreases with the increase in wind speed for a particular temperature. When the temperature is very high, wind speed is very high, the work period should be comfortable. It should be small enough, or it should be comfortable enough for the person to work. Otherwise, he may face various chilling injuries, whether it may be frostbite, it may be hypothermia, or it may be trench foot and the like. So this have to be avoided. Working in cold environment requires more energy than warm weather because the body is working to keep the body warm. In such cases, in the cold environment, we have to drink fluids very often, especially when doing strenuous work. For warming purpose, hot non-alcoholic beverages and soups must be preferred. Caffeinated drinks or alcohol must be limited because they increase the urine production and contributes to dehydration. Always prevent physical overload. The muscles, if you see the muscle structure, the muscle has the muscle fibers. There are 2 types of fibers in the muscles. One is slow twitch muscle, other one is fast twitch muscle. Slow twitch muscles are reddish in color, whereas the fast twitch muscles are white, showing white in color. The slow twitch muscles fibers are more efficient at using oxygen. They use oxygen more efficiently. They can go for a long time before they get fatigue. They help in working for a long time. The fast twitch fibers use anaerobic metabolism, and they are better at generating short bursts of strength or speed than slow twitch muscles. They are used for getting fast bursts of energy. However, they get fatigued very quickly. So heavy tasks can lead to lower oxygen supply to the body. When the oxygen supply to the body is reduced, the fast twitch fibers are used to generate energy, and they get fatigued very quickly because of the lactic acid formation in the fibers. The lactic acid is a byproduct of anaerobic metabolism. Lactic acid is responsible for muscle fatigue. So when the muscle get fatigued due to lactic acid formation, work warm-up scheduling is very important. During warm-up, the normal blood flow will be there and which will flush out the lactic acid from the muscles. Tendons connect muscle to the bones. The tendons also get lactic acid. So these also will be getting back to the normal functioning when you give warm-up schedule, warm-up breaks to the human beings working in the cold environment. In this table, if you can see various symptoms that comes, various illnesses, their symptoms and the recommended actions when the person fall to such symptoms or such illnesses in the while working in the cold environment. Dehydration, the person loses the moisture in the body. So for that, one has to drink water, warm beverages. He will be feeling thirsty, muscle cramps, headache are the symptoms of dehydration. If the person is subjected to mild hypothermia, he will have shivering, lack of coordination of the hand and eye, slurred speech, memory loss, pale and cold skin. It is better for him if he is moved from the cold room to warm rooms. He should be staying active, remove wet clothes and replace with dry clothes and cover the head. Drink warm sugary drinks in such conditions. Moderate the person may be feeling, may be subject to moderate hypothermia where shivering stops but he is not able to walk or stand. He is confused and irrational. So in such cases, you have to call for a medical expert. And warm objects like warm bags or packs of warm bags or packs must be kept on the neck, head and cheek, etc. In the condition of severe hypothermia, where the core body temperature falls below 30 to 25 degrees centigrade, the person may be having ice cold skin, or he may be feeling sleepy or consciousness, or he may be subject to death as well. So you have to immediately call him and take him to the hospital to raise the core body temperature. Frostbite can occur. So in the initial stage of the frostbite, there will be cold, tingling, aching feels and numbness in the frostbitten areas. So in such cases, you have to rub the area. You have to wrap the soft cloth on the area. And if the help is delayed, it is delayed, immerse the body part which is subject to frostbite, particularly the tips of the hands and all, into the warm water as well. Apply sterile dressing to prevent the breaking. When trench foot occurs, mainly when you are in the cold room with wet floor, in such cases, itching the foot may occur, blisters may appear. So in such cases, you have to soak your feet in warm water and wrap this soft dry cloth or bandage on the foot. You have to drink warm sugary waters. If you are subjected to chilblains, they occur due to sudden warming from cold temperature. It causes painful inflammation of the small blood vessels. The indication of that is red itchy patches on the skin, swelling and blistering on the lightly affected areas, highly affected areas, and burning sensation of the skin. So in such cases, usually you have to go away without any treatment, but to keep the area warm. Use antiseptic to reduce the chances of infection. So these are, in a nutshell, the various effects of the cold environment on the human beings while working in the cold storage systems and cold logistic lines. And there are certain, I have also told you about certain measures, certain preventive measures like using insulations like clothing, as well as taking the various actions like machine design of machine equipment, how that should be designed, like use of insulation on them, they should be allowed. The human beings to work with the gloves